Be not deceived. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
All right, it's 4 p.m. on Wall Street. Do you know where your money is?
How much should I invest?
I really looking for some direction.
Should I hold on to my house as an investment for my future?
What should we do to...
Welcome back to Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. It's great to be here. And we don't have a whole lot of economic news. We're going to get to phones as quickly as we can. Now, Thursday, of course, being Thanksgiving. Friday, we're not going to have an opportunity this week to do our Rapid Fire Friday. So we're going to do a Rapid Fire Tuesday, kind of. We'll do it today and tomorrow, folks. I want to get to as many calls as we possibly can. So I hope you'll queue your call up. I know there's a lot of financial questions out there. We're headed towards year end. That always spurs some questions, some comments. Folks, before this end of this year, if you are thinking about retiring and securing some permanent income, this is a good year. I said this last year, and I'll probably say it again next year. At least I hope I get a chance to say it next year. What I mean by that is I hope the law is still intact. I don't know how long the law is going to be intact about charitable gift annuities, but they're an absolute must, a critical part of what you should be thinking about. And you really got to be considering doing a charitable gift annuity. So would you call the foundation? If you haven't called them yet, you need to do it. And, secure some income, because I'm sorry, but I am just not in the camp of being so comfortable with being dependent upon the markets. And I don't think you should be either. So with that in mind, I hope that you will give a call and just carve out a piece as a responsible part of your planning for your future. If you're over 55 or so, you really need to be thinking about this. So call the AFA Foundation. I hope you'll do that. Not a lot of economic news. Most of the data that was supposed to come out today, the employment cost numbers and other things, they've decided to postpone till next week, primarily due to the fact that they're saying the government shut down. Here's the beauty. The government shutdown is a wonderful thing because it took away another level of accountability. Now, that there's not a lot of accountability in government because there's no need for it, no necessity for it. So there is no accountability. They kind of do what they want. But add on something like a government shutdown, man, you can get some mileage out of that. They may be doing things in January. They'll be blaming or talking about the government shutdown. I'm just guessing, but I would suspect that will be the case. So we'll wait and see. So not a lot of numbers coming out. The couple numbers that we did get out is the home permits for the month of October, those permits that were issued. Now, remember, folks, from a housing construction standpoint, these are permits. They're a piece of paper. It does not obligate the builder, the construction firm, to build. It's just a permit. So they can build. So it's not the better number, which we're not getting today, is housing starts. How many starts did we have? It's one thing to have permits of 1 million, which is what we've had, 1.03 permits issued. By the way, the vast majority, as a matter of fact, it's up 6.2%, and only 0.8% of that is single family. The vast majority of this is multifamily housing, apartments, condominiums, those kinds of things. So multifamily housing is the vast majority of that. So keep that in mind. But it was a good number, but not good enough. And it looks like the delay of some of the economic data that was coming out has pulled back any of the gains, the little bit of gains that were in the futures this morning. Of course, yesterday the Dow finished up 7 and NASDAQ 2. The S&P was slightly negative. So again, I'm not going to talk a lot about the numbers, the market numbers today, because or tomorrow, because there's no volume. There's nothing to speak of. There's extreme low volume in economic data coming out. So there's not a whole lot to talk about there. Perfect time to be taking your questions at 866-300-9298. 866-300-9298. You know, one of the things I did want to mention before I forget is that last week sometime I had the opportunity to speak to a caller who called in about her son and her grandson had some physical special needs kinds of things, and she was talking about leaving them money, and I was talking about a special needs trust to her. As a matter of fact, I plan on talking with her further today or tomorrow, but I got a lot of emails in reference to special needs trust. It is a very important part of your planning. If you're a grandparent and you have a special needs grandchild, particularly a special needs grandchild that is going to be involved in a special needs situation for the rest of their life, and you want to provide for them, you've got to be very careful about how you do that. There are ways to do it so that there are great benefit to the income recipient, your grandchild or your child, but you need to carefully plan for it, and we're happy to help you with that. And you call the foundation. They'll get you in touch with me. It's something very near and dear to my heart, and I'd love to help you in any way I can. But or you can call the program, 866-300-9298, if you want to talk a little bit about that. So that's the economic data that we had was the housing numbers. And by the way, oil's kind of mixed. Oil is up. I better check before I say that, but oil was up to 94 something or other. Yeah, 94.35 right now. So oil is on the rise, 94.35. All the enthusiasm over Iran we're seeing is gone. It's out of the European markets, it's out of the Asian markets, it's out of the emerging markets, it's out of the United States market. The enthusiasm of a deal. Because like I said would happen yesterday morning, this deal is a joke. It's not a deal at all. At best, it's pathetic because indicating that we, the United States of America now, are negotiating with terrorists. By the way, I'm the only one talking about that, which is really aggravating. But they're a terrorist regime. And I want to know if this is such a great deal, Secretary Kerry. I want to know why our American citizen that they're holding just because he shares the gospel of Jesus Christ. I want to know why he's not walking free right now. That's what I want to know. You made a deal. Did you sign a deal? Did you shake a hand on a deal? Were you able to broadcast, put press releases, press conferences on this deal? I want to know, how hard is it for an act of any kind of sincerity on the part of Iran? You couldn't, Secretary Kerry, you couldn't bring yourself to ask that they release the prisoner that they have no right holding. He's an American citizen and he needs to be released. And it's irrelevant whether it goes against your beliefs that he's an infidel. It's irrelevant. He was sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. That in the American eyes is no reason to hold him or detain him. Let him go, and then we can start finishing up this deal. But remember, Secretary Kerry, Senator, former senator, he's coming out of that same gutless group of leadership that wouldn't dare do that. Can we do something to show some strength? To show some strength. Yesterday I was on a program, radio program, and this person was trying to get me to, rip John F. Kennedy because he was a Democrat. And I said, well, John F. Kennedy, first of all, was much more a Republican than a Democrat, and he had a lot of problems, a lot of issues. There's no getting around it. But here's the issue, or the good that I like about him. He loved being number one. He loved being first. He wanted to be the first at everything. He wanted America greatness to become greater. So for all of his faults, he had that. See, we used to have a culture of that in our presidencies right up to this president. Right up to this president. I saw an article yesterday in a liberal magazine, I forget the name of the magazine, talking about the damage that this president has done for liberalism. He's hurting the cause through this Obamacare. Everybody's turning on this president. Look at this turn. This is a CNN poll. Just a month ago, the Democrats held a 50 to 42% lead. That's a pretty significant lead. 8-point lead is well above any margin of error in a poll, and that's a pretty good lead. Just a month later, today, according to this new CNN poll, Republicans now have a 49 to 47% lead, and I would suspect that that is increasing and going up. So if you're wondering why all those Democrats that are coming up for re-election in the Senate and the Democrats in the Congress are stressing over Obamacare, now you know why. They're looking at these polls and they're in panic mode. And the beauty of it is that they can't run and hide from it. They own it. They loved it. They still love it. They think it's the greatest thing to further progress their agenda and their ideology. And now they've got to try to, I really wasn't for that. I didn't know it was going to do this. Right there, stop them when they're speaking at a town hall meeting this summer before November elections. Wait a minute, stop. Let me just stop right there. You didn't know that it was going to be this. Do you think if you would have read it, you might have known? Just saying. Do you think? Just listen, folks. This goes for the Republicans, too. They deserve to get fired because they signed something that was the law of the land that they never read. On that piece of that irresponsible moment in time, when they signed a bill that was impacting you and I because of a pat on the back from Nancy Pelosi or Harry Reid, that is enough to make sure they get fired. Because if you think that's being responsible, if you think that is a responsible employee, because that's what they are, to you and I, they need to be fired. Now they're all in a panic. So don't let them say, I didn't know, because if they say they didn't know, they are reaffirming the fact that they didn't know, meaning they were irresponsible enough not to sign a bill that they never read or never understood. So we're seeing those poll numbers drifting down dramatically. 866-300-9298. 866-300-9298. You're listening to American Family Radio Network, Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia. 866-300-9298. Oil futures, as I said, mixed right now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, right now, I think there's more uneasiness about the Middle East than there was. Oh, but don't worry about Egypt. All that Arab Spring stuff, forget about it, because Egypt just passed a law today that it's illegal to protest in the streets. Oh, that'll work. We'll just make it illegal. What that does is gives them permission now to use a little bit more force, because now you're breaking the law. That's what it does. That's all it does. But do they think it's going to stop? If the injustice continues, hopefully the protest will continue as well. And that's going to be typical throughout the Middle East. I do believe that we have seen, and we could continue to see, the fact that Saudi Arabia may be the only one on the side of Israel. How ironic is that? Certainly they're not going to come out and publicly defend Israel. They know better than that. But at the same time, they also know as Iran gets closer to nuclear war, they're in big trouble. 866-300-9298, folks. Your financial questions. I know you've got questions because I'm getting thousands of emails every single day. I sure appreciate that. I thank you for that. But here's an opportunity today and tomorrow, two great opportunities to get those questions in. 866-300-9298. When we get back from this break, we're going right to the phones. We've got one line open, 866-300-9298. Dan Celia, Financial Issues. We'll be right back.